to understand your take on self-love and surrender.
How do I answer self-love based on the positions and beliefs that are already concretely and socially held? When you say self, that means one thing, whereas the self really means another thing. When you say love, that refers to the popular, unexamined, superficial notion of love, whereas love really means another thing. So self-love can be the most obnoxious thing or the most sublime thing, depending on when somebody says, there must be more self-love, that simply means probably cater to your own thoughts and feelings and whatever you think is good for yourself. That kind of self-love is harmful for you, for everybody. So now I refuse all those masters who are just like burdens upon me. Removing those masters, those burdens, I rise. This is self-love, and this is also
Namaskar, Acharya ji. I want to understand your take on self-love and surrender, both.
where are you coming from? What's the...
Means these days, as we talk a lot about self-love, one thing, and another thing is surrender to God or to universe. So these both things I want to understand from you.
The whole thing has to start from the right place. We say self-love, we say surrender, we say God, we talk of all these things. But I really wonder, I'm really curious, how does that happen without any inquiry into what self means, what love means, what surrender means, what divinity means? How do I answer self-love based on the positions and beliefs that are already concretely and socially held? Self-love, what does that mean? I mean,
Means do you believe in this concept of self-love?
we don't agree on the definitions itself.
Okay.
So how do I agree? When you say self,
Yeah.
I know where you're coming from. When you say self, that means one thing, whereas the self really means another thing. When you say love, that refers to the popular, unexamined, superficial notion of love, whereas love really means another thing. So self-love can be the most obnoxious thing or the most sublime thing, depending on the definitions you are according to self and love. Therefore, it's a catch-22 for me. If I say yes, there's a problem. If I say no, again there's a problem. Self-love is the most wonderful thing possible. But what does self mean? Atma or Ahankar? I don't know what you're referring to. Self-love, because you see, self is two things. Self can be 1,000 things. Self is the entire range existing from the lowermost point right till the highest sky. And its two endpoints are referred to as the lower self, the highest self, what you have mistakenly assumed yourself to be, and what you really are and hence can potentially be. That too is called self. Now, what do we mean by self? Similarly, love could be the most toxic kind of attachment. The most vicious kind of exploitative relationship. That too is often referred to as love. And love could be the highest state of the ego. That too is referred to as love. What do we mean by love really? In general, when we say self-love, that simply means focusing on yourself to fulfill your desires. And that is just nonsense. When somebody says, there must be more self-love, that simply means probably cater to your own thoughts and feelings and whatever you think is good for yourself. That kind of self-love is harmful for you, for everybody. Questions are the best when they are the most fundamental. What is self-love? What is self-love? Now that's a useful question. And if we know what self-love really is, surrender and self-love become inseparable. What will surrender then be? The self has chosen to give up on its lowly position in favor of the higher one. That is surrender. I am surrendering the nonsense that I have, the weights I have burdened myself with. I am surrendering them, giving them up so that I can rise to the highest. One way of defining surrender. Another way of surrendering is, in my lowly position, the way I usually am, I have figured out that I am already surrendered to 1,000 kinds of worthless masters. That's the normal state of the ego, right? Somebody lures you with a lucrative ad, you surrender. The body says, I want sleep or I want sex, one surrenders. Right? The society says, now is your time to earn more or raise a family, and one surrenders. Then, in the language of negation, surrender would mean not surrendering to worthless masters. Because we are already surrendered. Most people, when they talk of surrender, it is quite a comical thing. Because how can you surrender what you have already surrendered? People come and say, sir, I have come to surrender myself to you. But you cannot surrender because you have already surrendered to 10 other. Can you surrender what you don't have? Most people have already either sold away or mortgaged their self. They can no more surrender it. Therefore, any kind of divine surrender is just wordplay and deception. What do you have left to surrender? There is nothing with you. Your mind belongs to social masters. Your body belongs to biological masters. What will you surrender? You don't have anything. So, to really surrender, one has to reclaim. One has to withdraw. One has to say, I gave in to the wrong masters. I now refuse to surrender. That is real surrender. If your head is already bowed down at 10 places, and then you go to your favorite divinity and say, now I am surrendering to you, is that meaningful? That's not meaningful. Are you getting it? Then surrender would really mean rebellion. Surrender would mean withdrawal of consent. Surrender would mean breaking of false promises. Surrender would mean I take back what I had mistakenly given to all kinds of unworthy people and institutions. I take that back. Now when I have it, I can possibly take it to the worthy one and say, here, sir, here. This is now all yours. That is surrender. So surrender and self-love are synonymous, but only when they are taken in the real sense. See, taken in the real sense, there can be no contradictions ever. But taken in the unreal sense, love and wisdom will look a little incompatible. Surrender and self-love would again look a little incompatible, and there would be all kinds of divisions. The divisions themselves indicate that we are definitionally mistaken. that the mistake is very fundamental. Otherwise, dissonance wouldn't have existed. Do you get this? The self is an entire range. And there is the greatest possibility at the far end of the range. The greatest possibility is what Vedanta calls as Atma, Brahma. The great self, the real self, the true self, the truth itself. Whereas we operate at some lowly point in the range. That is the lower self. Our practical reality, our day-to-day self. Self-love would mean loving that self. I don't love this self. Self-love does not mean loving myself as I am. Self-love means, no, I do not love myself as I am. I love the possibility, the potential that I am. That is real self-love. And that is synonymous with surrender. Surrendering what? Surrendering this in favor of that. And I am held at this position because at this position I have accepted many a master. So now I refuse all those masters who are just like burdens upon me. Removing those masters, those burdens, I rise. I rise. This is self-love and this is also surrender. Same thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good evening, sir. My name is Shriya Jain and I'm a third year student of IIT. So my question is, how do I tap into my truest self, my most authentic self?
The most authentic self is an idea. आप उसको जी तो रहे नहीं हो. Somebody told you that something called the higher self or the authentic self, true self, real self exists, right?
Yes, sir.
It's a mere idea. You have heard it from somewhere. It's a beautiful thing to hear of. Nevertheless, it's still just an idea, a thought. What do you have in your hand? Where are you placed? What is your lived experience? Is that the true self, the higher self, the authentic self? Is that what you live in and live as?
No.
So start from there. Start from the lower self. The lower self that we routinely, though mistakenly, call as real. Start from there. The higher self is merely imaginary. Start from this. Here I am, the ground under my feet. Here I am. This is what I call as myself. This is what I call as my relationships. This is the ambit of my hopes. There stands my dream. This is my ambition. This is that. And when you look at these closely and carefully, you might not feel particularly elated about them. That's when you think they are lowly. It is an admission of this lowliness that something higher can now take shape and become real for you. Can a higher self exist if the current self is not admitted to be lower? I'm asking you, please tell me. Can a higher self exist if the current self is not acknowledged to be lower?
No, sir.
And what we live in is the current self. The higher self is merely a fantasy. So look at your current condition and say it is lowly. That's the way. Look at your current condition and say, I can be much better. No, I don't need to circumscribe myself this way. I can be freer. No. I'm taking one real hard look at myself. For a change, let me be honest with myself. And when I do that, I find, there is no fun being what I currently am. In the admission of this lowliness, opens up the way to rise.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Just download the Acharya Prashant app, and there you go to the community section, and you have live testimonials streaming in at the rate of 1 every 5 minutes. I'm seeing lives change in thousands, if not millions, every day in front of my own eyes. We are doing it.
Right.
We have actually done it.
Join the community of more than 2 lakh participants on the Acharya Prashant app. Your first month is completely free. You'll get full access to Gita Mission. On the app, you will get regular live sessions, daily exclusive conversations with Acharya Prashant, access to the vibrant Gita community, wisdom exams, curated news, audiobooks, quotes, and much more. Search Acharya Prashant on Google Play Store or Apple App Store and download now.